I'm a trainer instructor now, so I teach people all day, so I'm used to talking. But welcome to Scott Township. Who lives in Scott Township? Anyone here? You do. Where do you guys live at?
Collier.
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 Collier? Okay. So you're right next door. You're bordering municipality. So they have, in every municipality in the state of Pennsylvania, there is a local emergency management coordinator. That's our title. And it's governed by the governor. So I'm actually appointed by the governor of the state to my position. The municipality approves it, sends it for his approval, and then he goes, says yea or nay. And in the state of Pennsylvania, since we're a commonwealth, emergency management and protection services fall to the lowest level of government affected. So what's that mean? I'm here in Scott Township, and if I have just a structure fire, it is Scott Township's responsibility to handle that structure fire. It wouldn't be Collier Township's responsibility. Now, if the fire was on the border between both Collier and Scott Township, and it encompassed both of those municipalities, then it would be both of the emergency management functions of both municipalities and the county, because it has now crossed boundaries of one municipality. Does that make sense? So a lot of things you'll see are little areas affected, and sometimes you'll see a governor declare a state of emergency. Sometimes you may see a local manager of a municipality or a city, or as you work your way up, the president doing a federal. It all works the same. So if it only affects the state of Pennsylvania, the president cannot make a disaster declaration. It has to be at least 2 or more states out of the 50. Same with the governor cannot make a declaration of disaster unless it affects more than one county in the whole Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So that's how the whole government process works. So it always falls to the lowest level. You try and do what you can, and when you don't have the resources available, then you go up the chain and ask for what you need. So we'll see here, this is, I can't remember how many years now I built this. 10 or 12 years. Scott Township and a lot of municipalities in this whole area never had really emergency management till 9/11. Then it became a big do, and I was appointed back then, and I worked already for the county in the 911 center. So I've been with them for a long time, being a dispatcher and so forth. So knowing how emergency operations should work, we, through the years, I got this space allotted, which you won't find in probably 2/3 of the municipalities in Allegheny County. There's 130 of them. So there's probably about 15 that have this amount of space dedicated just for emergency management and the resources we have in here. Some of it looks antiquated, but for our purposes, like TVs, all we're looking at is news and weather. I don't need a flat screen to see that. I just need a TV that works. Our phone systems are separate from the rest of the township phone system. It's a separate independent system. And you got to remember that since we're emergency management, these phone systems work without having power. A lot of the new phone systems work off of power. So when they shut down, they can't operate their high-tech phone systems because they need the power to drive them. So these are independently driven phones, older models, that they can pick up, and during an emergency, there's a power outage, we still have phone service. Computer systems, we have powered and non-powered. We have air cards and a satellite card, which means if my normal connection to Comcast that we get that goes down, then I try the next level, AT&T. Then I try our satellite. So we have all these different possibilities to get the information. In a disaster, what my job is as emergency management coordinator is to coordinate all the functions of the township. So that means making sure everything's being handled. Police, fire, EMS, public safety, roads, public works, and getting them all to work together. So what I do then is we get representatives, that's why this table's laid out, so we have one from every agency responsible, and we make our decisions and our plans here in this room, and then we disperse it out to the field units. So the core of making decisions is in this room. My room next door is a communications operations, where they can take phone calls, they can take radio transmissions and process all the incidents that are going on, and then they can pass on a list to us in here, and then we then map it out where we need to send resources. So that's my job and my staff's job. And if we don't have the resources, to get what they need. So the fire chief has 15 incidents going on with trees and wires or maybe houses burning. So he doesn't have to think about what he needs. He tells us and we get it for him. So he doesn't have to do it all on his own. That's what we do. We coordinate to get all the stuff they need in the street to make things happen. So they have water outages, power outages. They'll say, okay, we got power outages. They'd call me. It's my job to say, hey, I need to find generators, find water supply for them, find housing, shelter. That's our responsibilities. And then I would provide this stuff. Like we have enough to create our own shelter for Scott Township. We got cots, blankets, sleeping bags, sheet sets. I got water, all this stuff to survive. So what do we do? So your part here is find out who your community emergency management director and what that person does. So they are responsible for all hazards, what they call in the state of Pennsylvania, all hazards approach to emergency management. That means everything. Flooding, power outages, ice storms, chemical hazard spills, everything. So it's natural, man-made, and chemical. We have to be prepared to handle every bit of it. So what do? They have here, there's all the stages. There's prepare, respond, recover, and mitigate. So the preparation is everything that is done ahead of time. What are we prepared to do if this incident A occurs? This is what we do. So if we walk around some, you'll see in the other room, there are checklists for different avenues of people's responsibilities. That's my preparedness. I have it checked out. We have contacts. We have shelter centers already lined up. We have all these contacts and resources that are other places where we can get them. So that's the preparedness part. The respond to is what occurs when the accident or incident really occurs. How do you respond? And there are what they call pre-plans to that. Fire has them, for every type of different fire. There's a pre-plan of what to respond. Well, we have the same thing. So the response package is we get the resources to make sure that situation is being taken care of. While that is going on, you're already doing the next two stages of emergency management, which is recovery and mitigation. Recovery is getting everyone back to the way they were before the incident occurred, to your normal state of living. That's what recovery means. So while the incident's already going, like the last time we had a flood, people were flooding, we were evacuating, But we were also here already trying to figure out how to get everyone recovered back to the normal state. And the last part of that, mitigation, does anyone know what mitigate means?
To make less severe.
Yeah. Basically, you're mitigating how you can better handle and respond to this incident in the future. And that's what they want to see. Every level of government, that's what they want to see. So that's what those steps are. And throughout an event, you're always doing all of those. Even preparing, because you might say, hey, something needs changed in the plan that you wrote. So you're always updating, and it's ever flowing. It never stays the same in what you do. So it says, apply what you discovered to the chart you created for requirement 2B. What was your chart? Do you know?
We didn't get that.
You didn't get that one?
No, that was one of our prerequisites.
Okay, so you'll probably do it at camp?
Yeah.
Okay. Your chart is probably drawing who's who, where.
It says on this sheet, does it say on that sheet anything about like preventing?
Prevention? That goes in with prepare and mitigate, and prevent emergency situations.
Mm-hmm.
Mitigation is also part of prevention. What we do is prevention. We have literature. Anytime I go out somewhere, I provide literature. If I do talks on stuff, we provide literature, which I'm going to hand you each. You have one of each of these. This will help you through your process of what you need for the rest of the merit badge and at home also. There's a lot of these are from the Red Cross, and you can get this stuff now because of the web. You can type in anything you want. So if you wanted, like it says here, an individual survival kit or an individual evacuation kit, you could go online, ask that question. It'll print you out a list of what you should take for what we call as a go bag, which means, hey, you got to get out of the house. You got 5 seconds. Grab what you got and get out. That's what we call it, a go bag. You just grab that bag. It has everything you need, and you're gone. Okay. So you could even go online, call it a go bag, go kit, stuff like that. And it's basically as one built for an individual, for yourself. So it would have some clothes, extra pair of shoes, stuff like that you can eat that's not gonna degrade. So canned stuff or candy bars that aren't gonna melt, granola type stuff, tuna fish, stuff that's good that you can eat without having to heat it up. Stuff you're probably not familiar with, non-electronic things to do. Like an old-fashioned book or deck of cards, because in an emergency, you're not going to have the power to keep powering your phone, keep powering your laptops, keep powering your pads. So you're going to be bored. So part of that to-go thing is plan for something you like. If it's even a crossword puzzle book and paper and pencil or stuff, or if you draw, put that in that, because a lot of people don't think, I'm not going to have these comforts anymore, because you're so used to having them day in and day out. And it could be gone for days, weeks, which you've never experienced. So having that bag ready for yourself, and you go through it twice a year, spring and fall, because you certainly don't want your heavy coat and pull-up pants in the middle of summer. You'd probably rather have a light pair of pants and some shorts. So you wouldn't want a hoodie or a thick winter coat in the middle of summer. So you would change those few things out. But pack for I'll put a couple days of everything in there. And like I have one in my car, I have one in my closet at my front of my house. You could have one in your room, just put it on your bed, or in the closet where you know where it's at, or hanging on the door. Put it in a duffel bag. So if you have to bug out and tell your parents where it's at and your brothers and sisters, so if you're not home and they have to leave the house, they can grab it. Or put them all in the same location. It's a very important thing to do. Include a couple bottles of water also in that thing, because it's stuff that you're going to need. A knife. You guys are scouting. We're always be prepared. So you always carry a pocket knife that has different things in it. You want to throw one of those in there. A fork, spoon. Stuff that you think that you have normally every day, but when you're somewhere else, you might not have. So those are the things you want to put in there. So that's called the preparedness part. You're prepared that I can live. Like when you go camping, don't you have a list of what you check off to take? Or do you just throw everything in the bag and hope you have it?
Depends on the kid.
I was the very one that I had the checklist and I packed it all the same every time in my backpack, and the certain pockets had the same thing in it every single time, or it never came out. So I always knew it was there. And the same way, I don't know if you pack your stuff now, you put stuff in Ziploc bags, each like individual set in that. Very smart. Do that with your go bags too, for multiple purposes. So it don't get wet, bugs don't get to it, and it stays fresh. So those are things that part of the stuff you do now, how we carry it into a larger scale. So my job being prepared. Like I said, I got cots, blankets, water, and stuff to create an evacuation center. That's my preparedness part. It's sitting here ready to go. So if I had to respond, all I got to do is pull one of the trucks out front, load everything up, move it up to the township building or the park, set up a whole evacuation center. That's the respond to. Recover is the part where we see how their houses are. If they can't get into a house, we find them alternate places to live. Red Cross, hotels, so forth, or relatives. That's the recover part. Mitigation part and prevention would be, what could we do next time so this incident isn't as bad or doesn't occur? Unfortunately, power outages in this area will never stop because everything's above ground. So every storm we get, we're always going to have power outages. It's a fact of life in this part of the country. It's not like out west where everything's buried underground. But so you're going to live with that the rest of your life if you live in this part of the country, to have power outages. And if you live in this area also, water outages, because pipe systems are underground. We go from hot to extreme colds in the winter and summer, and those things crack like crazy. So you're always going to have those things. So that's stuff that we're always prepared for. We're used to that. So, let's see what else. Any questions on anything for what you guys need?